Every enemy who tried to destroy you, every voice that whispered you were finished, every person who watched you fall and walked away, they are about to witness something they never prepared for, because the one they counted out is the very one God kept. And your silence is almost over. Stay right here, because what I am about to tell you is going to change everything. I am speaking directly to you right now. Not to someone beside you, not to someone who stumbled here by accident. I am speaking to the chosen one who has been carrying wounds that no one else could see, who has been fighting battles in silence that would have broken most people completely. You have been standing in a storm that seemed like it would never end, and you have done it without anyone truly understanding what it cost you. But I see you, and I need you to hear me clearly, because what is happening in your life right now is not a punishment. It is a preparation. There are enemies around you. You already know this. Some of them smile at your face and whisper against you behind your back. Some of them prayed for your downfall and celebrated in secret when things went wrong for you. Some of them used your vulnerability against you, took what you offered in trust and turned it into a weapon. You felt every single one of those betrayals. They went deep. And there were moments when you questioned yourself, wondering if maybe they were right, wondering if maybe you were too sensitive, too trusting, too much. But I want you to understand something that is going to shift everything inside you right now. The people who tried to silence you were afraid of your voice. The people who tried to dim your light were terrified of your shine. The people who worked the hardest to bring you down were the ones who already knew what you were capable of. Their attacks were never about your weakness. They were always about your power. Type Amen if you receive this. You were chosen before you fully understood what that meant. There was something placed inside you long before any enemy had a chance to touch your life, a fire that could not be extinguished no matter how many times they tried to pour water on it. You may have felt it going quiet sometimes. You may have felt it flicker in the moments when the pain was heaviest, but it never went out. It never will, because it was not placed there by people, and it cannot be removed by people. What God put inside you is permanent, and every enemy who ever came against you was never fighting you. They were fighting what was placed inside you, and they lost before the battle even started. Think about every moment when things should have fallen apart completely but somehow held together. Think about every time a door closed so hard it should have crushed your hope, but something kept you moving. Think about the nights when you had nothing left but still found yourself getting up in the morning. That was not coincidence. That was not luck. That was the hand of God covering you in ways you could not see, keeping you alive for a purpose that your enemies could sense but never fully understand. Type 111 if you feel this in your spirit. Now here is what I want you to prepare for. The silence that you have been sitting in, the season that felt like you were invisible, like your prayers were bouncing off the ceiling, like every step forward was being undone by 2 steps back, that season is ending. And the way it is ending is not going to be quiet. The very people who wrote you off are about to be witnesses to what God does with someone they underestimated. The very situations that were designed to destroy your testimony are about to become the foundation of your greatest breakthrough. I am not telling you this to make you feel good in this moment and then forget about it tomorrow. I am telling you this because you need to get ready. You need to shift how you see yourself right now before the manifestation comes. Because if you are still walking around believing what your enemies said about you when the doors start opening, you will not be prepared to walk through them. Your power is waking up. And the reason it feels different right now, the reason you feel something stirring inside you that you cannot fully explain, is because what was sleeping is rising. There are layers to what God placed inside you that you have not even discovered yet. You have been operating on a fraction of your actual capacity because the weight of the warfare around you has been pressing down on your potential. But that weight is being lifted, not slowly, not gradually, but decisively, because God has determined that it is time. And when God decides something is time, no enemy, no circumstance, no situation in the natural or spiritual realm has the power to delay it. Take a moment and like this video because someone else needs to hear this today just as much as you do. Let me talk to you about what silencing your enemies actually looks like. Because for a long time, you may have imagined it as a moment of confrontation, a moment where you finally get to say everything you held back, where they finally have to admit what they did and face the consequences. But the way God silences your enemies is far more powerful than anything you could design on your own. He does not silence them through argument. He silences them through elevation. When God lifts you up, when He opens the doors that were shut in your face, when He places you in the rooms that people decided you did not belong in, when He restores what was taken and adds abundance on top of it, that is a silence that cuts deeper than any word you could have spoken in your own defense. It is a silence that lasts, and it is the kind of silence that makes them realize they were never fighting you. They were positioning you. Every attack became a testimony. Every loss became a lesson. Every setback was secretly a setup. And now the setup is complete and the manifestation is arriving. You do not need to fight anymore. You do not need to defend yourself anymore. You do not need to explain yourself to people who never intended to understand you anyway. Your only assignment right now is to stay aligned with God. Keep your eyes focused on where He is leading you, and let Him handle what you have been carrying on your own shoulders for far too long. Type 777 if you trust God to fight your battles. There were moments when the enemies around you spoke words over your life that were designed to plant seeds of doubt, seeds of defeat, seeds of limitation. They told you that you were not enough. They told you that you had already missed your window. They told you that certain things were simply not for someone like you. And even if you never fully believed them, some of those words found a crack in your armor and went in. You started to hesitate where you should have been bold. You started to hold back where you should have been stepping forward. You started to shrink yourself in spaces where your presence was actually needed. But I need you to hear this directly. Every word that was spoken against your destiny has been canceled. Not weakened, not delayed, but canceled. The mouth that cursed you does not have authority over a life that God ordained. And the moment you fully receive that truth, you are going to feel a freedom in your spirit that has not been there in a very long time. You are not behind, you are not too late, you are not less than. You are exactly where God positioned you to be, at exactly this moment with exactly the right amount of strength inside you to move into what He has prepared. The enemies who thought they slowed you down actually served God's purpose without knowing it. Every delay they caused created a depth in you that could not have been built any other way. The pain you walked through became wisdom. The betrayals you survived became discernment. The losses you endured became a capacity for blessing that you would not have had without the contrast of what you went through. Your comeback is not just for you. It is a message to everyone who is still in the middle of their battle, still trying to believe that God sees them, still fighting to hold on when everything is telling them to let go. When they see what God does in your life, it is going to be the evidence they need to keep going. You are carrying something that goes beyond your personal story. And that is why the enemy fought you so hard, because he knew the impact your breakthrough would have on others, and he was trying to prevent not just your victory, but every victory that was attached to it. Type yes if you believe your breakthrough is coming. I want you to think about the power of your silence over these past months or years. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of someone who was being shaped. While you were quiet, while you were healing, while you were going through, something was happening beneath the surface that no one could see. God was rebuilding you at the foundation. He was removing what was weak, reinforcing what was strong, and installing in you a level of clarity and authority that cannot come through easy seasons. You cannot buy what God builds in you through fire. You cannot fast forward the process of becoming someone who can carry what is about to be placed in your hands. And I want you to understand that the power that is awakening in you right now is not the same power that existed before the storm. It is better, it is stronger, it is more refined, and it is ready. Your enemies prepared for the version of you that entered the battle. They never prepared for the version of you that is coming out of it. Type 1111 to affirm your comeback. There is going to be a moment, and it may already be beginning right now, where the very people who dismissed you start paying attention again. Not because you announced anything, not because you demanded recognition, but because the anointing on your life is becoming impossible to ignore. People who never had time for you suddenly have questions. People who closed doors in your face suddenly want to reopen conversations. People who walked away are now looking back. And when that starts happening, I need you to be grounded enough in who God made you to be that their attention does not intoxicate you and their sudden interest does not make you forget what they did during the season when you needed them. You are not returning to who you were. You are arriving as who you were always meant to become. That is a completely different thing. And the people around you are going to feel that difference even before they can fully articulate it. There is a weight to a person who has been through the fire and come out whole. There is an authority that cannot be manufactured or faked. It comes from having been tested at the deepest level and choosing God over and over again when every other option was available. That is what is radiating from you right now. That is why things are shifting. That is why your enemies are beginning to go quiet without you saying a single word. Stay with me, because in part 2, I am going to tell you exactly what this next season looks like for you, what the enemy is going to try as one final attack before your full manifestation, and how to make sure nothing stops what God has already decided is yours. Welcome back. If you made it to part 2, I want you to know that is not an accident. There is something in you that recognizes this word is for you, and that recognition itself is a sign of the awakening that is happening inside you right now. In part 1, we talked about what God has built in you through the battle, about how your enemies were actually positioning you without knowing it, and about the power that is rising in your spirit right now. In this part, I want to go deeper, because what is coming for you is greater than what you lost, greater than what was stolen, greater than what they tried to destroy. And you need to be fully prepared to receive it. Type amen if you are ready for what God has prepared for you. Let me tell you what this next season is going to feel like. It is not going to feel like a sudden explosion where everything changes overnight, although there will be moments where it feels exactly like that. Mostly it is going to feel like a steady increasing clarity. Decisions that confused you before will suddenly become obvious. Paths that were blocked will open in ways that feel almost too easy compared to how hard you had to fight for things before. Relationships will shift, and the right people will come into your life at exactly the right time. There will be a growing sense that you are finally moving in the direction you were always meant to go, and that the resistance that used to exhaust you is simply not as heavy as it was. This is what it feels like when God removes the opposition that was holding back your progression. It does not always come with a dramatic moment. Sometimes it comes as a quiet morning where you wake up and realize something heavy is gone, something you had been carrying so long you had forgotten what it felt like to not carry it. And in that moment, you will understand that God was working even when you could not see it, even when you had stopped asking because asking felt like hoping for something that would never come. Type 3333 if God has ever surprised you with a blessing you stopped expecting. Now, I need to warn you about something, because there is an enemy who is watching this same progression and who is going to try one more time before your full breakthrough arrives. This is how the enemy always operates. Right before a major elevation, right before a door opens that changes everything, he will try to create a distraction, a temptation, a conflict, or a discouragement that is specifically designed to make you take your eyes off where God is leading you. He knows your weaknesses. He has studied the areas where you are most likely to react emotionally, most likely to make a decision from a wounded place, most likely to say something or do something that gives him an opening. And he will use people you know, situations that feel familiar, and circumstances that feel like old wounds reopening to try to pull you off course right before your moment. I am not telling you this to make you afraid. I am telling you this so that when it happens, and it will happen, you will recognize it for what it is. You will not react. You will not engage. You will not allow yourself to be pulled into a battle that God never asked you to fight with your own hands. Because when the enemy comes at you in this final push, your response is worship. Your response is prayer. Your response is standing still and watching God move on your behalf. And when you do that, when you refuse to take the bait, when you hold your peace in the very moment that your flesh wants to fight, you are demonstrating a level of spiritual maturity that unlocks the next dimension of what God has for you. Type peace if you choose to let God fight for you. Your silence has been a weapon this entire time, and you did not even fully realize it. Every time you chose not to respond to what your enemies expected you to react to, every time you walked away when they wanted a confrontation, every time you kept moving forward when they expected you to stop, you were passing a test that was making you unshakable. And now that unshakability is going to be put on display in a way that serves far more than your own vindication. It is going to be a testimony that reaches people who have been praying for proof that God is real, that he sees, that he acts, that he restores. There is a level of impact that is attached to your story that you have not yet fully stepped into. The things you went through were not just personal, they were prophetic. They were a pattern that when you look back at it, you are going to be able to trace God's hand through every single moment. Every valley had a purpose. Every mountain you had to climb was preparing you for the view that was waiting at the top. And where you stand right now, even in the middle of what still feels incomplete, you are closer to that view than you have ever been. Type 55 if you feel God moving in your life right now. Let me talk to you about what it means to silence every enemy. I do not mean just the external enemies, the people who spoke against you, the situations that resisted you, the circumstances that seemed designed to work against your progress. I also mean the internal enemies, the voice that tells you it is too late, the fear that whispers you will only lose again, the doubt that reminds you of every time you tried and it did not work, the comparison that makes you look at someone else's season and wonder why yours looks different. These are enemies too. And they have done just as much damage as the external ones, perhaps more, because they have had direct access to your mind, to your self-perception, to the lens through which you have been reading your own story. When God awakens your power, the first place that power goes to work is on the inside. He does not just open external doors while you remain internally the same person who watched those doors close. He does a work in you that transforms how you see yourself, how you see your circumstances, and how you see the future that is waiting for you. And as that internal transformation takes place, the external world has no choice but to respond to the new version of you that is showing up. You carry a different energy. You make different decisions. You attract different outcomes. Not because the world around you changed first, but because you changed first, and the world is now adjusting to align with who you have become. Type new season if you are ready to step into who God made you to be. I want to speak to the part of you that is still healing, because you can be moving toward breakthrough and still be healing at the same time. These are not contradictory things. God does not wait until you are perfectly whole to begin moving you forward. He moves you forward as part of the process of making you whole. The healing happens in motion, not in stillness. And some of the deepest healing you will experience is going to happen as you step into the new things God is opening for you. Because there is something that shifts in you when you begin to experience good things after a long season of hard things. It recalibrates your expectation. It begins to heal the places in you that had made agreements with the idea that things would never truly get better, that the good was always temporary and the pain was always permanent. Those agreements are being broken right now. Every promise that was made over your life by God, every word that was spoken into your spirit in your darkest moment when you almost gave up and something kept you going, every dream that survived the fire of what you went through, those are not suggestions. They are God's intention for your life. And intentions that come from God are not subject to the timelines or the opinions or the interference of your enemies. They are fixed. They are coming, and they are coming to you. Type I receive it if you believe God's promises are for you. The people who tried to silence your voice are about to hear it louder than ever before. Not in argument, not in bitterness, not in revenge, but in the uncontainable overflow of a life that God refused to let be stopped. When joy comes back into a person who was once broken, it is loud. When peace settles into a spirit that was once in constant warfare, it radiates. When purpose ignites in someone who spent years walking in confusion, the clarity they carry becomes visible to everyone around them. That is what is coming for you. Not a return to how things used to be, but an arrival at something so much greater that you will struggle to even connect it to the painful chapters that came before. There are doors about to open for you that you have not even considered praying about because they seem so far outside the realm of possibility that asking for them felt like wasted breath. But God does not limit your future to the boundaries of your imagination. He does not look at your past and use it to calculate what you deserve. He looks at the purpose He placed inside you before you were born, and He works backwards from there, creating a path that leads you exactly to what He intended from the beginning. And the path was never stopped by what your enemies did. It was never closed by the mistakes you made. It was never canceled by the seasons of pain. It simply went underground for a time, running beneath the surface of everything visible, and now it is about to break through to the surface in a way that leaves no room for doubt. Type 888 to receive abundance. Your enemies thought they understood what they were dealing with. They did not. They saw the surface of you, the version that was weathered by the storm, the version that was bleeding and tired and trying to hold things together. They used that version to make their calculations about your future. They concluded that what they saw was the ceiling of what you could become. They were wrong. So completely wrong that when they see what God is doing, they will not even have a framework for understanding how it happened. Because the jump between where they thought you were and where God is placing you will be so significant that it will look like a miracle to everyone watching. And it is a miracle. It is exactly that. But it is the kind of miracle that God reserves for the ones who refused to quit when quitting would have been the most understandable choice in the world. You refused. You stayed. You kept getting up. You kept believing even when belief felt like the most irrational choice available to you. And that refusal, that staying, that getting up again and again, that is the thing that God honored. Not your perfection, not your performance, not the version of you that had it all together, the version of you that was broken and chose God anyway. That is the version that He crowned. That is the version that every enemy underestimated. And that is the version that is about to silence every voice that ever spoke against you without saying a single word in its own defense. Type crown if you know God has not forgotten about you. As you move into this next season, I want to give you 3 things to carry with you. The first is this: do not look back, not to gloat over your enemies, not to revisit your pain, not to try to understand everything that happened before you move forward. Look back only long enough to see the grace of God in your past, and then let that grace propel you forward. You are not the sum of what you survived. You are the promise of what is coming. The second is this: guard your peace like it is the most valuable thing you own, because it is. In this next season, there will be things and people and opportunities that look good but feel wrong. Your peace is your compass. If something disturbs the peace that God is building in your life right now, you have the authority to say no. You have the authority to protect your assignment by refusing to let anyone or anything drag you back into chaos that does not belong to your new season. The third is this: share what God does. When the breakthrough comes, tell someone. Not to boast, but because your testimony is someone else's lifeline. There is a person right now who is in the darkest place you have ever been, and the word that they need to hold on is waiting in your story. When God moves in your life, you become proof that He moves. And proof is the most powerful thing you can give to someone who is fighting to keep believing. Type share if you will be a witness when God moves in your life. I want to close part 2 by speaking directly to that quiet place in you where hope has been living on life support. The place where you still want to believe, but the wanting has become exhausting. The place where you have prayed so many times and waited so long that you almost made peace with not receiving, because making peace with it seemed less painful than continuing to hope. I am talking to that place in you right now, and I am telling you that what God started, He is finishing. What He promised, He is delivering. What He spoke into your spirit in the moments when only you and He were present, He has not forgotten. He does not forget. He does not abandon. He does not start something and walk away. He is the God who completes what He begins, and He began something in you that is extraordinary. The enemy tried to stop it. He could not. Life tried to stop it. It could not. Your own doubt tried to stop it. It could not. Because when God decides something is going to happen, the only question is when, not if. And the when for you is now. The awakening is now. The rising is now. The power that was placed inside you before you drew your first breath is rising to the surface right now. And every enemy, every obstacle, every doubt, every fear is about to be silenced by it. You are chosen. You have always been chosen. And the best of what God has for you is not behind you. It is directly ahead. Walk toward it without fear. Walk toward it with the full weight of everything you have survived behind you, pushing you forward. Walk toward it knowing that the one who kept you through the worst is the same one who is leading you into the best. Your power is awake. Your enemies are already losing their hold. And your silence is almost over. Type I am ready if you receive every word of this message. God sees you. He has always seen you. And He is so proud of you for staying. Your breakthrough is not coming. It is already here. Step into it.